And welcome into District Nation, everybody. Welcome back into another preview of a series coming up. And this is a special one because I think that most fans might call this a rivalry. I don't know if I'm going to call it a rivalry. But we've got the Beltway series this weekend. The Washington Nationals will come home after being on the road, and they will face the Baltimore Orioles in a 3-game series that we call the Beltway series. Welcome in, everybody, to District Nation. We're going to get a preview of this series, talk about the last series just a little bit, because I think it does affect this series coming up just a little bit. So the Nationals just had a road trip. They headed out to Miami, then came back to Cincinnati to play 3 games. They had the off day on Monday, and here they are on a stretch of another few days of playing baseball in a lot of days in a row. They're going to come back and play Baltimore, and then without an off day, they're going to play a 4-game series with the Mets. Then they're going to play a 3-er with Atlanta, and then they're going to play a 3 with Cleveland. Not going to get your next off day until May 28th, so they've got a stretch of some baseball coming up. Their last break was on the 11th. It was last Monday. That was their last off day. The Nationals were able to take a series from the Reds, and I think that's good. Games 1 and 2 were great, and there's things to talk about with Game 3. Games 1 and 2, I want to talk about that first, and broadcasters talked about it while they called the game. Everyone seems to be talking about it a little bit. This week is Dalen Lyle's week. Dalen Lyle, the Louisville Slugger, comes back to his hometown in Cincinnati, which is also known as Great American Small Park, and hits 3 home runs. Wow. Good job to Dalen Lyle. Good job to you. That was absolutely amazing. Dalen Lyle comes out of nowhere, becomes our offensive threat. We win Game 1 10-4. Win Game 2 8-7. Just good play overall from Dalen Lyle. The offense was helping him out. We had a ton of home runs on Tuesday. Wood had a bomb. Garcia had 2. Lyle had 2. Everything home run-wise was working on Tuesday. Wednesday, we found other ways to score. It wasn't all power. It wasn't all just big things. You got a lot of variety of offense, and I think that's important. You got variety. They were doing things they usually do as the Nats, but Tuesday we saw a different flash of the Nationals. We saw the power Nats. I don't know if that team's going to stick. Maybe we see them once a week. That would be great. See the power Nats once a week. But so now we got to think Game 3. Game 3. 15-1 loss with what I said in my last pregame show would be a pitcher's matchup. And I think a lot of people expected a pitching matchup. A lot of people thought this was going to be a close game. Chase Burns on the mound. Good pitcher. Foster Griffin, been a good pitcher so far. It was not that. It was not the best game overall. Foster Griffin had one of the best ERAs among lefties in baseball coming into today's game, which I'm filming this on Thursday, so that's why I'm saying today, but came in one of the best ERAs among lefties, one of the best in baseball, 9th in the NL. 4.1 innings, 7 hits, 9 runs. 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, 2 home runs. Given up. Wow. So Foster Griffin, I mean, everyone's going to have a blotch on their resume. Everyone does, and I think this is just one. 4-2 right now. And the Nats, they were relying on him a little bit, but the good thing was we already had games 1 and 2. And I said it in the preview as well for last series. This was not the must-win game. Game 3 was not the must-win. Games 1 or 2, you needed the win because those were the deciding factors of the series. Was could we take on games 1 and 2 when we didn't have Griffin on the mound? When both of them are going to win, then either way, both of them going to win. Game 3, you don't have to win. So Griffin obviously relaxed a little too much. But at least we got the series win. And this is another series win on the road. The Nationals continue to be absolutely great on the road. But now they return home. So will they bring that momentum to the Beltway series? Looking at the record, they're 21-23 in what is sort of becoming a little bit more of a competitive NL East. Still, Braves way out in front. The Nats second in the NL East now. The Phillies behind them at 20-23. But the Braves 30-13, 6.98 win percentage. Last 10, they're 7-3, doing absolutely amazing. Phillies 20-23, Miami 20-24, Mets 18-25. So that's the NL East for you, just a look there at what we're going to see. So now the question is, will the Nationals hold it? Can the Nationals realistically hold second place in the NL East? But here's the thing. You might be saying, oh, second place. We've got ourselves a spot in playoffs then because we're second. That is not anywhere near what we are. We are 4.5 games out of the playoffs right now, and there is not one in the NL wild card. There are 2 NL Central teams and 1 NL West team. This is the first time we're going to see probably the Central dominate the playoffs. Right now, if the season ended right now, it'd be the Braves, the Cubs, the Padres, and then in the wild card, the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers. The Pittsburgh Pirates, Reds, and Nationals could sneak in there, as well as the Diamondbacks there. The Phillies are there. I think any of these guys could sneak in. And I think, once again, I'm going to say it again, so people can say it, the Nats could realistically sneak into the playoffs. I think that's a very realistic thing. But now let's focus just on this weekend, because it is a pregame show for this weekend. We'll be talking more about standings and such. I'll give you an update every preview series when we come out. We'll be back again on Sunday with a preview for the Mets game. But here we go. The Nationals, you can find the starters right next to me, in fact. Right next to me, I have a board, 3 pictures of them. And there, you got Shane Baz versus Zach Little. Game 1, the question is, are we going to see a different starter? Is someone else going to take the starter role for the Nationals? Is Little going to come in the second? So I have a couple opinions on this. I'm mixed. First off, Little obviously doesn't do well in the first inning, so maybe throw some other guy. Gives up a lot of home runs. Maybe an eliminated first inning would help him. Let him settle into the game in the second or third. Give Lovelady a couple innings. Give Poland a couple innings. But on the other hand, we signed him to start games. He was signed to start baseball games. And maybe there's people out there, including me, who want a starter, who's a guy who's going to go 5, going to go 4, someone who's just going to start the game, do well, and then hand it over to the bullpen, not hand it to the bullpen first and then hand the ball to the starter. Maybe it works. Maybe the Nationals, if they somehow made the playoffs in a realistic way, we would see P.J. Pullen start game 1. That would be interesting, but we're not in the playoffs yet. It's May, so there's a lot to talk about here. And that's just one of the factors that could make us in or out of the playoffs. And it's an example. Friday night, will we see Lovelady take the mound? Or do we start using it with someone else? And that's something I quickly want to talk about with Irvin. They talked about this on a podcast I enjoy listening to. It's Locked On Nationals. Shout out to the Locked On Nationals podcast. I'll link them down below. But he talked about it today. Could we start it with Irvin? Could we realistically maybe throw P.J. Pullen out there for Jake Irvin? And I like that thought because Jake Irvin doesn't do well in the first inning. He provided that evidence. Maybe what he needs is a little Pullen action for a couple innings. And Irvin has proven he can go 5. So that, in the end, you got 2 innings from Pullen, 5 from Irvin. Realistically, that's 7 innings. 2 innings you need to hand over to the pen. The problem is not the bullpen as much anymore, actually. The bullpen's being a little more good this year. They're starting to settle in a little bit. It's the starters now. Little, Irvin, Cavalli, and now Griffin. They were the guys giving up runs. Michaelis. And that was just one mistake on the part of the Nationals. So now, what do you look for now? That's my question is, do you try it with him? Do you try it with Irvin? Or do you stick doing it with Little? Maybe give Little that time. So that's the big questions here. And this weekend, the Nationals, we saw it in Game 3. They're going to have to bring the bats to Games 1, 2, and 3 this weekend series. The bats are what are winning them this games. As I said, bullpen and starters, they're not as great as they should be. I think the bullpen's getting better, but once again, we didn't rebuild around the bullpen. This offense has been rebuilt from the ground up. So let the offense do the work. What works for you, you should use. The Nationals offense is top in the league, but right now, problem is 15-10 on the road. They're doing great on the road, over 500. They're winning games on the road. They're winning series on the road. Only lost 2 series on the road. First, Philadelphia, which obviously was going to be a hard series to win anyway. They're a good team. And then Miami, which was a slip-up, and that makes sense. But the Nationals, they're 6-13 at home. All these games, we're in May now, and they have 6 wins at home, and they have 13 losses. Not good. That's just not good. Do you want to see them winning more games at home? Yes, but at the same time, you got to figure out what it is that's doing this to them. Are they making choices at home? Is it something about the environment? What does they not like about the home park? I mean, maybe fans need to start coming out. Fans, go to the game. Support the Nats. And maybe a sweep this weekend would help them. They took this series, as you can see, 2-1. They took this one 2-1. Do we see them sweep this weekend? Make it 5-1 this week. That would be awesome. Lose one game, and I think it's very realistic. If the bats can get behind Little on Friday, if Cavalli can have the gem we know he can have against a team like the Orioles, and then Michaelis comes out and just pitches his heart out, let the bullpen take over, that'd be the game where you'd see Brad Lord probably behind Michaelis, because Brad Lord is your most reliable guy. He's a long man, so let him work with Michaelis. Work together. And it's going to have to be the bats in front of them. The bats are going to have to come in, and the pitchers, just enough. You got to hold down the fort. That's all I'm asking. Chris Bassett takes game 2, a veteran arm, sort of. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but he can hold the Nationals down. But the thing is about the Orioles right now, their offense is looking pretty good. For the Orioles in the AL East standings, they're at 18-26, so they're 12-12 at home, 8-12 away, but their offense looking a little bit better. They were missing Adley Rutschman for a little while, and now it seems like Rutschman is back in a different way. Adley Rutschman is back, and he's doing well. He's providing for this team. 291, 6 home runs, 24 RBIs in limited time. Obviously, he's never been an average hitter. I'm not defending him in any way, but he's a good hitter, so got to come after him. Rutschman's going to be the guy you have to keep down this weekend. If Rutschman gets hot, it's not looking good. And the Nationals, still, you got to keep an eye on Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson, always a threat to do well. So really, there's not really a guy you can ease off on. Looking at their last game, they beat Miami 7-0. Bradish came out and had a good game, who's 2-5 now. But the offense kind of provided. They got 10 hits in the game. They had Ward with a hit. Henderson didn't get a hit. Rutschman with a hit. Alonso, obviously. Pete Alonso's in this lineup. Let's not forget that. Pete Alonso has a spot in this lineup. The Nationals will be facing off with a home run derby champion. They'll be facing off with Adley. They got Henderson to face off. You got O'Neill in the lineup still. Weston Wilson, always a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, not the best arm, but a guy to keep an eye on. And that's the thing, you got to keep an eye on some of these guys, sleeper hitters. Alonso's trying to find it, and they got a lot of batting averages in the hundreds, at least for their getaway game with the Yankees. But 265 for Ward, 197 for Henderson. But he's becoming sort of a Joey Gallo type, hitting a lot of bombs, really, hitting for power, but he's got less average. He's still doing well, though, with 9 home runs, 21 RBIs. So he's still efficient. That's the thing. Henderson's still driving in runs. He's still being what he knows he can be. So now what the Nationals have to do, what do they have to do? And I've been outlining the entire time, the bats have to come alive. The bats are going to need to come alive this game. My projected starting lineup, because we are facing off against Baz. He's a right-handed pitcher. So we're going to have the lefty order in there. Wood in the leadoff spot. I think realistically, 2 spot, you'll see Garcia. So you got Wood, Garcia. Maybe you try in the 3-hole. Maybe Lyle, how he did this week. Maybe try Lyle in the 3-hole. Abrams obviously has the 4-hole down. 5-hole, you can question it. I think that's a spot that you can question. Looking at the Cincinnati game, I believe they started a righty, so we can look there for inspiration on this order. But you could see Lyle in the 3-hole. 4-hole be given to Abrams. Maybe Young in the 5-hole. Young's been doing there as well. You could see Weimer somewhere in the lineup. Maybe righty-righty matchup. They might be afraid of it, though. They may not want a righty-righty. You could see Nunez in the order. Nunez will probably be out there. I mean, House will probably be in the order. House will be lower in the order because they're facing a righty. They like lefties up high in the order. They like to overpower righties with lefty hitters. And I like that about this team. They're playing a little unconventionally. They're using math. They're using questions in baseball. They're using the hypotheticals. They're using the stats. It's like a Moneyball thing. They've got a little bit of a Moneyball vibe going here. They're pitching to the advantage. I mean, if you've ever seen The Simpsons in the baseball episode, Mr. Burns took out Darryl Strawberry and put in Homer Simpson because he was afraid of a lefty-lefty matchup. There's a parallel there. What if, realistically, we're facing a lefty in the 10th, James Wood gets taken out of the order, Curtis Mead pinch hits? Is that really the worst thing? So, got to think about that, and I think that's realistically something Butera would do. If Wood's 3 for 3 that day, no, let him hit because he has 1,000 batting average that day. If Wood's 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and a ground out to first, and he already grounded out on that pitcher, maybe pinch hit Mead. And if it's a close game, a lefty on the mound who does well against lefties, yes, put in Mead in that situation. But those are hypotheticals, and those are things that could happen, just making an example of how this is a little bit like Moneyball. We're seeing that. And I think it's exciting because the Nationals, they found they're starting to win games. 21-22. Once again, or 21-23. Once again, just 2 games out of 500. They're teetering on and off at 500. And if you sweep, once again, I say this again, I've been saying it for the past 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure. Sweep this series, you're over 500. 2 out of 3 with this. If you take the first 2, you're at 23-23. So might as well get to that 500 mark. Stay there for a game if you want. Lose game 3, but hopefully you sweep. Make it 24-23. Do you want to be 23-24? Probably not. Or really bad, 22-25. That would not be good. Just get the win. I think the series win would help here because the Nationals need a series win at home. They need to get their spark up, figure out a way to get a series win at home. That would be very exciting. Just get a series win at home. Do it for the guys who are in the stands. Do it for the kids who are coming out for the Sunday giveaway. Do it for the hot dog hat giveaway. And this is the Beltway series. This is a rivalry of sorts because obviously we're 2 different skill levels, different times in our rebuild. One is now gunning for the playoffs. The other, it'd be a miracle if they made the playoffs. And it'd be kind of interesting to see this team in that field. But Now the Nationals are going to have to see what they can do against a team like the Orioles. Of course, Little takes game 1. We talked about it. Cavalli takes game 2. Throw the gem I know you can do, because Cavalli has had gems before. He's done against AL teams too. When that curveball's working and it's complementing his fastball, there's not too many guys that can hit him. So that's just my opinion on it. And Michaelis, once again, maybe do 2 openers this weekend. Maybe go pull in game 1. Maybe even have Lovelady go game 3. But then that's 2 closer starters within 1 series. So only 1 starter that weekend probably started. Maybe they do it. Maybe they stay unconventional. But that's just my thoughts on this weekend. And my prediction is once again the same as this week. I predicted 2-1. I was correct, so I'm on a 1-series streak. I'm going to take 2-1 again. They take game 1. Well, I didn't get the numbers right, but I say we take game 1 at a high-scoring event. I think Cavalli's going to keep them low, but he ends up, I bet, we'll keep it at a low-scoring game, maybe 4-3. And then Michaelis, maybe he can get the win. Hopefully Michaelis can get the win, but I think he slips up a little bit, and the Orioles get to him in game 3. After a weekend of facing 2 righties, they come in and they just hit Michaelis, because you got 3 righties all weekend. So I think they're just going to come in and shell Michaelis. But maybe Michaelis can hold him down. Maybe the bullpen helps him out. Maybe Brad Lord comes in and helps him out. That's just my thoughts on the weekend. And once again, the bats have to come alive. For an overview, C.J. Abrams, Dalen Lyle. Lyle was hot this week. Let him do it again. Put him in the 4-hole. Butera, tell him you have confidence in him. Tell him, give him the spot, kid. Swing hard for the fences. Then for Abrams, let him have confidence. Wood, keep him in the 1-hole. He's heating up too. Abrams and Wood, they're just on and off. I feel like every other game they do something amazing. So that's just my opinion on this series weekend. We'll be talking more about it on Friday, as we are streaming this game Friday. You can find me all weekend on District Nation. I should be able to call 3 games. Don't take that for 100%, though. Friday is a guarantee, though. We'll be live Friday. Let me just check here, but we'll be live Friday with game 1 of this series. We should be able to do games 2 and 3, so we'll be able to get some baseball right here on District Nation live streamed instead of just recorded as this game is going. Yep, I'll be live at 6:30. Starting the pregame show, and then we'll be getting going at 6:45 with the live stream of the game, live play-by-play and reaction. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's pregame show for this weekend series between the Baltimore Orioles and the Washington Nationals on District Nation for a series preview. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you soon.